From being out of his box in Melbourne to his various collisions with Lewis Hamilton out of bad blood, Max Verstappen has supposedly cheated quite a few times in the F1. Let's start off with the Australian Grand Prix incident. Even though some Formula One fans thought Max Verstappen might have been outside his grid box during the Australian Grand Prix, no one looked into it. People in Melbourne who went to watch the race got to see 3 different starts. After the usual start, there was a red flag early on, and the cars had to go back to the starting line to get going again. This happened again just 2 laps before the race was over. This season, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso have already been given time fines for doing similar things. But there was no review of Verstappen's case because he was not far enough ahead to have broken the rules. That's subjective for many people, but it was decided that the part of his tires touched the white line of the grid box instead of being outside of it. So the position of the Red Bull racer on the grid was allowed. As Karun Shandak looked at onboard camera footage on Sky Sports, he described why that was the case. He said he's in his grid box and in first gear. He moved forward a little bit and then did the launch. Verstappen won the race, which finished with a yellow flag because of a huge crash after the second start of the race. In Melbourne, only 12 cars finished the race, and Lewis Hamilton got his first podium of the season by coming in second. Even though Max won the race, F1 fans still think he cheated his way to a win in Melbourne. And this wasn't the only time he cheated in the Australian GP. He also finished the last lap of the GP behind a safety car. From fireworks to a comedy show, the Australian Grand Prix went from bright and exciting to the dullest of dulls. Max Verstappen won for Red Bull in Melbourne.
A 10-second gain. So yeah, that was a bit unlucky. And that probably also made my race, of course, a lot harder. But we learned a lot today.
But not before there was a lot of chaos and misunderstanding. This is likely to be a recurring theme this season. The second and most important pause happened with 4 laps left because Kevin Magnussen's Haas hit the wall at turn 2 and lost its right rear tire, causing debris. Then there was a standing restart, and with 2 laps to go, 6 cars crashed into each other and went off the track before the rest of the field made it to the end of the first section of the lap. The red flag was shown again, and those who could returned to the pits. There was another wait of more than 30 minutes while the FIA looked at their rules to determine what should happen next. As the sun got lower in the sky, time went on. The so-called fastest sport in the world moved at a painfully slow pace, and everyone wanted these last painful moments to be over. It was finally over. The pack ran 1 lap behind the safety car to finish the race, and then Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso handed the flag to Max Verstappen, who looked confused. It's a big deal that probably won't go away quickly, and it took away from what was otherwise a great effort by Verstappen and Red Bull. The world champion may have been upset with how the win was won, but on the whole, it was as clear-cut as the decisions made in the last third were confusing. Opposition fans did everything in their power to make sure Red Bull knew their star driver cheated. This wasn't the only time fans stirred up some drama. In the 2022 Dutch Grand Prix, Red Bull and its sister team AlphaTauri were accused. There have been rumors that Red Bull's sister team AlphaTauri helped Max Verstappen win the Dutch Grand Prix. This has caused some disagreements in the Formula One world. Verstappen was able to take advantage of a safety car period to make a vital pit stop, which helped him pass Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes and win the race. It was a huge disappointment for Hamilton, who yelled over the team radio that their plan had gone horribly wrong. Given Verstappen's lightning-fast speed, it was more likely just bad luck. But hours later, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said the team would look at Yuki Tsunoda's AlphaTauri's problems more closely if they were still in the running for the title. After his pit stop, Tsunoda stopped on the track because he thought one of his tires was loose. He even loosened his straps because he thought he was about to quit the race. This caused the safety car to come out. Instead, his team told him to keep going and come back to the pits, where they changed his tires and had to take extra time to put his belts back on. on. After Tsunoda left the pits, he grumbled again, this time about a problem with the differential. AlphaTauri told him to stop the car right away. Wolff said that if they were fighting for a championship, he'd definitely look into it. AlphaTauri and Red Bull's head of strategy, Anna Schmitz, both had to make a statement the next day after getting a lot of hate on social media. The AlphaTauri team said that they've always fought on their own, fairly, and with the most sportsmanship and respect. Who's gonna explain that to fans, right? Not only on the field, but Red Bull and Verstappen have also been accused of cheating off the field. It seems like financially Red Bull have breached some rules. Zak Brown, the boss of rival McLaren, said that Red Bull's breaking of the cap in 2021 is cheating and took a very unusual shot at the team. In 2021, Red Bull, which is leading the championship and whose driver Max Verstappen won the title both last year and this year, went over the $145 million limit. The FIA said on October 10th that it was a minor overspend, or less than 5% of the total budget, but they didn't say exactly how much. Red Bull said that their bid was under the cost cap. Of course they'd defend themselves, right? Everyone knows it. Brown told the governing body that any team that spends more than the rules allow is essentially cheating and should face harsh financial and sports penalties. Brown wasn't holding back at all. He didn't directly name Red Bull or Aston Martin, which were thought to have broken a rule. Instead, he just said that they were among the teams. Those that knew at the time knew. Lewis Hamilton said that if Mercedes could have spent just $300,000 more, it would have changed the outcome of the championship. Mercedes and Ferrari, two of Red Bull's key rivals, both said that if they broke the rules, they would get an advantage for this season and the next. The repercussions were huge and needed to be fixed. Brown also said that the cost cap, which was put in place last year to help level the playing field, had been a big part of how Formula One had been able to draw new shareholders and investors. So he wasn't wrong. There should be a check to keep the sport intact. Things went so far that Max was accused within his own team before the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix began. The Red Bull team's problems got worse after Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez argued about a possible cover-up, cheating, and who was in charge. Verstappen was accused of being selfish and petty when he refused to give teammate Perez his 6th place in Brazil on Sunday. This would have given Perez 2 more points in the driver's title and helped him move up to 2nd place. After the race, it became clear that Verstappen's refusal may have been payback for what happened in Monaco earlier in the year. There were stories in Holland that Perez crashed on purpose in qualifying when he already had the fastest lap. It said that what he did made sure that he started ahead of Verstappen at a track where passing is almost impossible. And as y'all know, Perez went on to win the race. The Mexican denied that he had purposely crashed, and he also denied rumors that the team had done an internal review afterward. I don't blame Perez, to be honest. Max is known to have an authoritative personality, which obviously would irk the Mexican, whether he crashed on purpose or not. It's clear that the event caused a lot of trouble behind the scenes that Red Bull is now struggling to handle. And that's all from me on the times Max Verstappen cheated in the F1. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.